following episode of MMA Think Tank is a special one, folks. We hope you enjoy this interview with Smile N Sam Alvey.
You're listening to MMA Think Tank with Jay and Mike.
Hello.
Hello, Sam.
The one and only.
What's up, Smile N Sam Alvey? Good to talk to you, man. First, I just wanted...
Good to talk to you, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to start off by thanking you so much for doing this interview. We are so honored to have you as a guest, and we are so proud to have somebody of your caliber.
Oh, well, thank you so much for the compliment, sir, and thank you for having me on.
Well, we appreciate it. I know you've got a big fight this weekend, Sam, and you're at the end of your training camp. How do you think this training camp went this time? How do you feel going into this fight?
I feel great going into the fight. My camp went fantastic. I had training partners coming out of the wazoo.
Yeah.
Jesse Taylor was up there. Sokaju, Dan was around. I just had a lot of people with the right set of skills to get me ready for it.
Awesome. And you're fighting a guy in Derek Brunson who's also got heavy hands like yourself. What kind of adjustments would you have made for this fight, or have you made for this fight?
I just brought in more wrestlers. I've been working with a collegiate wrestling team and just having them put me on my butt all day and having me work back up. Just over and over again.
You know, you've only been submitted once in your career, really only finished once in your career. So even if Derek takes you to the ground, not much is going to happen. Do you just worry about a decision, or do you feel you're going to be able to take the fight anywhere it goes?
If I had to worry about something, it would be a decision. He's got the ability to hold people down, and he's done it more than once. He's got a lot of talent, a lot of power, great wrestling. His jiu-jitsu looks to be okay as well. But the only thing I'm really worried about is the decision, and I'm not that worried about it.
Yeah.
Well, to kind of piggyback off that, he's been 500 in his last 6 fights. You've been finishing guys the last 3 fights, I think, KOs, TKOs. And this guy's been knocked out. When he loses, he either goes to a decision or he gets knocked out. Does that plays into your hands? Are you worried about being overconfident, or are you just going to go in there and just try and take care of business?
Overconfident has never been a problem for me, but I'm sure of what I'm good at, and I think I know what he's good at. So I'm prepared to beat him wherever he wants the fight to go.
That's awesome. I've got a question. The UFC right now is planning on doing a ban on IV rehydration. Is this anything that would hurt your camp at all, or are you somebody that doesn't use this? Or, how much weight do you have to cut personally? Is it a lot?
Between fights, I get up to about 220, 225 once they start lifting and eating again.
Oh, okay.
So I have a decent-sized cut. Like right now, I'm, 2 days away. I've got about 17 pounds to go. But that being said, I've kind of thought they were already illegal. I never knew I could do those.
Wow.
And I've done it once years ago, and I didn't feel any different. So it's not going to affect me. I could see it affecting some people.
That's great to know.
But I'll be in the clear. I've done it once years ago, and I've never done it again because I thought it was illegal.
Well, that's a question I was going to have for you, and you have done it. It looks like you're cutting weight, the best way you're supposed to, which is great. One of the things that the people are talking about with the ban of the IV is if we ban the IV, then basically we'll be taking care of a lot of PED problems. Do you agree with that, or what's your statement on that kind of thing?
I've never worried about the PEDs. I fought guys with them. I don't have any proof, of course, but you see a guy, you can kind of tell. I fought guys with them before. I fought guys without them, and they all, get knocked out just as easily. So it's really never bothered me. That they're doing away with them, that sounds good to me also. I have no idea if the hydration, taking the saline helps with that, but maybe it does, and then it'll just help enforce the rule more.
Some fighters are stating that, they're still going to use them even after the ban. I know Jose Aldo is on record as saying that. Do you think that there's any way to find out if you use it or not? I mean, I don't see a test for this.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, is that I don't know why it would stop anyone. I've heard something that the plastic that the saline solution sits in has some sort of residue that also goes into you, and they can test for that. Or
interesting.
Maybe they're just going to be checking arms for, either,
there you go.
Looking for heroin addicts or rehydrators.
And we've touched a little bit on that steroid use, and I know you have done in the past when you've talked about it in interviews. I've always looked at fighters and pretty much known that steroid PED use is big in this fight game. Not everybody uses it, of course, but I speculate anyway that a lot are. I'm wondering just how easy it is for fighters to mask PED use.
I honestly have no idea. I know it was never tested that fully before, so they just quit taking it before they got tested. Yeah. And from what I understand, they're going to be random drug tests happening year round, and I think that's going to definitely either kick a lot of people out of the UFC or dial down the use of the PEDs. So either way, it's not going to affect me. I'd be in a cup whenever you want.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I wanted to do a little backtracking here, like pretty much in your career, looking over your MFC career through UFC career, I've seen some similarities because, both me and Jay watched you in the MFC, some Bellator fights, things like that. And you lost your first fight in the MFC, and then you went on a streak and knocking people out, won the belt, defended it, I think, once. You're doing the same thing in the UFC. That seems eerily not a coincidence, or what do you think about that? Are you on a streak for the championship of the UFC?
You know it. I've got a strange habit of losing, and you look at my record, I lose one, and I win five.
Yeah.
It's been and that's not even true. I went on a bigger one than that even at some point in my career. But yeah, I'm ready to, whenever they want to offer it to me, I'll accept. I'll start with Derek Brunson in a couple days, and I still want that fight up in Canada. Elias Theodorou can't hide from me forever. I still think that fight makes sense, and I'm going to make sure it happens someday.
I was looking at a highlight video of yours, and at the very end of the highlight video, we were talking about him, and it was pretty funny because I did watch that season of The Ultimate Fighter. Outside of him, you've got people like Michael Bisping, who everybody seems to call out, Dan Henderson, CB Dollaway. Are those names you want to fight right now or after Brunson?
I am not going to fight Dan Henderson. That boy would whoop the snot out of me, and he does it every day in practice. so Dan Henderson, I'm going to stay away from. But everyone else is fair game. I'm going to take whoever they give me. I know who I'd like to fight next, and that is Elias up in Canada. I like traveling. I love Canada, and I'd love to put on a good show out there. But honestly, I'm game for anyone. I'm a top 10 level fighter. I think I'm a top 5 level fighter right now, even. So I'm game to beat up anyone, anywhere.
Awesome. No teacher versus student. I was wondering about that. There was talk of Dillashaw and Faber, and so I was just wondering if you were going to do that.
Yeah, I would not fight Dan.
That's great. I love the honesty. But Sam, obvious question here. Smile N Sam. Who gave you the name Smile N?
We've talked about it a lot. My dad takes credit for it, and I can't remember otherwise, so he's probably right. And it was this. I've always been a smiley guy. I enjoy what I do, especially when I'm fighting. And so I think he probably said it first. We had a little powwow, I remember, years back, and coming up with different ideas, and that one stuck.
Yeah, I love it, and I love your whole persona in there. You're always smiling, man. During interviews, fights, whatever it is, even when the going gets tough, I see you smile a lot, and that's awesome to see a fighter do.
Yeah, I love what I do. I love who I do it in front of, and there's no reason not to smile. And I always get a kick out of the guys that are just mean mugging the whole time. If you're going to be so angry doing something, why bother doing it?
Yeah, Sam, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong here. It was the I think it was the first podcast we did. Maybe it was the second, but I believe the first podcast.
It was the
we
first.
Actually gave you kind of a shout out. We were talking about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and about how he looks just like he's having fun in there when he walks to the cage. Whether he wins or lose, he looks like, he's happy with what he's doing. And you're one of those guys too.
Yeah, I am. I love what I'm doing. I love doing it, and I'm just honored that I've got the stage to do it on.
We've been big fans for a long time now, and when I heard you were going to be on The Ultimate Fighter, I got really excited because I was like, finally, win or lose, I knew that Dana and the rest of the guys there at the UFC were going to see the potential in you and know that you deserve to fight amongst the best in the world. And that's why you're here. But how was that experience on The Ultimate Fighter? What did you take away from that?
It was fine. It was just really, really boring. They give you nothing to do for the 6 or 7 weeks. Yeah. And it was fine. We got to train. It's not as hard as training at my gym, and I just have less to do. It was quite the experience. So the rest of my life, I'll be able to, be one of the few that have done it. But it's not nearly as exciting as everyone else thinks it is.
A lot of fighters from the earlier seasons of Tough say, oh, well, the first few seasons of Tough, that was a different Tough. These guys, it's not really the same thing. How do you feel now that it's been more than a couple years?
Well, I kind of agree. I think, and you just look at the longevity of all the fighters from, Tough 1, Tough 2, Tough, they're still around. When the tough fighters that are coming out now, they fall off pretty quick. Now, I think that has to do with the general increase in the MMA level of everybody else. But it's still, they were more fun to watch, I think. It was more about the fighting, and they allowed more personality. They didn't just want the drunk guy. Right. And nowadays, it really looks like they don't care about the personality. They just want somebody to get drunk on the season so they can highlight it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Sam, as a father of 8, yes, I said 8. I have 8 kids, Sam.
Our goal is 9. That's my wife's.
That's
my
awesome.
Wife's number.
That's awesome.
I wanted 5. She said 9.
But since becoming a father, has it changed you in any way inside or outside of the cage?
Well, yeah, of course. I not in the fighting sense though. It's just a deeper need to succeed than ever before. But it absolutely has, and it's instant from the second that my oldest one is Reagan. From the second she was born, life just mattered more.
Yeah, I totally relate.
I had to train harder. I had to do this more. I had to do that more. I had to make. I had to start doing stuff outside of fighting just in case fighting ever took a turn to the worst. Number one goal now is I got to make sure she is happy, fed, and happy.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's awesome, because that was a question I was going to ask you as well, which is some guys, they feel the way you feel, but then also they kind of say that they lose their killer instinct because they've got so much love around their life with their family, a daughter or a son. So it looks like it's helping you out. It's not, the killer instinct is still there, obviously, because you've got some KOs in a row.
Yeah, honestly, if I wanted to never lose again, I just keep popping out kids. Every time I have one, I win big.
That's awesome.
That might just be my ticket to the championship. Start having more kids.
It's been so awesome to sit here and talk to you, Sam.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Sam,
thank you so much for having me on, and it's been a real pleasure talking to you guys.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. It's been great. I just got one last question for you because I was on their Twitter, of course, and I saw the Yoda, that was cut into your hair, and it's pretty awesome. And I just have one question for you, and that question is: have you ever had to unlearn what you have learned?
The force is strong in this one.
That's right.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, sir.
I can't wait to watch you this weekend, and I will be pulling for you, my friend.
We'll be watching
thank
live.
you very much. Make sure you bet on me, too. I'm a big underdog.
Yeah, there you go.
Easy money, Sam.
Easy money.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
That was a great interview with Sam Alvey. And again, I thank you, Sam, for coming on the show. Now, Mike, we still have more to talk about here.
We pick 'em.
We have the Fight Night 73, of course, which Sam Alvey is a part of. There's some fights there I want to touch on. Of course, let's get into the main event, which is Ovince St. Preux versus Glover Teixeira. What are your thoughts on this fight, Mike?
Jay, my thoughts are this could be Ovince St. Preux's not his biggest win because he just knocked out Shogun 2 fights ago, and then he knocked out Patrick Cummins. But this is a stiff test. This is really the test that's going to prove if he belongs in the top 10, and I'm picking him. I like Glover Teixeira as a fighter, but he lost to John Jones. That's fine. But he lost to Phil Davis. No longer in the UFC, a great wrestler. Ovince St. Preux can do it all, and I'm thinking Preux with his power and his wrestling.
I agree here. I'm picking Ovince St. Preux. I think he beats Teixeira.
Jay, I think this is going to be one of those fights where we're looking at a guy, Ovince St. Preux, that is really going to make a run. I don't know how far. I think Teixeira is at the end of where he's going to go. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree with that. Mike, the next fight I want to touch on is Beneil Dariush against Michael Johnson.
Jay, I don't see it going to decision. I'm going to tell you that. I don't know who finishes this fight, but these guys are both great fighters. Beneil Dariush, I can't say he's come out of nowhere, but he just defeated Jim Miller. But before that, he submitted Derek Cruikshank. So he's really got something going for him, but he's taken on Michael Johnson. We all know Michael Johnson. He's an athletic fighter. He's a fast fighter. He's got some power. He's on a run. You know, he beat Joe Lozon. That's a big name. He's beat Gleason Tebow. He beat Melvin Gillard. He beat Edson Barbosa by decision, and that's a good run, I'd say.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of hard for me to say because Beneil is kind of new on the scene. Michael's beat a lot of good guys, so I think I'm going to go with Michael on this pick. I think I'm going to go with Johnson.
Yeah, certainly there's no problem with that pick. It's just going to be a great fight. His only big loss, in my opinion, is to Miles Jury, and Miles Jury he's a good guy, so that's a forgivable loss. I'm going to go with Dariush because my heart's going with Dariush. I like the fact that this guy has a mission outside of fighting. He's actually an Assyrian Christian, and he talks about how he has family over in the Middle East being persecuted. Not trying to get political here, people, but it's nice to know that people have something going on outside of fighting and worry about people other than themselves.
The next fight I wanted to touch on is Sarah McMahon versus Amanda Nunes. I'm saying McMahon takes this one. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, you know, I am a big Sarah McMahon fan. I started watching her, I think it was Titan Fighting, whatever the Axis.net channel was that you get deep into your cable package. And so when she came into the UFC, you know, she came in with a silver medal in wrestling. I thought this is the person that's going to give Ronda Rousey a run. And you know what? It just hasn't happened. She did get to Rousey, Jay. We saw what happened with that knee to the body that just made her drop and the fight ended. You know, I think she's going to take this over Nunes. Nunes is a game fighter. She's a good fighter, but I just think that she's doesn't have as good a pedigree in fighting as Sarah McMahon does.
Yeah, I say Sarah McMahon takes this, and quite easily. I think that she, you know, a lot of people are underestimating McMahon ever since her loss to Rousey. I think McMahon is one of the tougher ones in the division. I think she is definitely somebody who could possibly get better and come back, and Rousey can possibly one day meet a better McMahon in the cage.
Yeah, Jay, I agree with that. You know, McMahon has lost to people like Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate. No slouches there. But I don't want that fight against Rousey to make people think that she's not a great athlete, because you don't get dropped by a body shot very often. I mean, how often, Jay, have you seen a body shot drop somebody? So I still think that even though maybe Sarah McMahon won't beat Ronda Rousey, I think she could take her pretty far.
Yeah, and that's all I'm saying. Because at this point, I don't see anybody beating Ronda Rousey. Well, July just finished, and Mike, there's something that you brought up that you wanted to start doing here on MMA Think Tank, and I agree with it. I think we should do a Fighter of the Month. I totally agree with you. And guys, here at MMA Think Tank, Mike and I just basically lead the charge, but you guys can phone in, email in your Fighter of the Month.
Fighter of the Month.
My Fighter of the Month would have to be none other than Conor McGregor. Mike,
not a bad pick, Jay.
Who are you choosing?
Well, Jay, you know, Fighter of the Month, that can be anybody who won their fight, you know, did something awesome outside the ring that month. You know, someone that you think is just great as a person who is a fighter or is a great fighter. And I picked Chad Mendes. Isn't that kind of funny?
That is funny.
And the reason I picked Chad Mendes, Chad Mendes, he saved that card. We were so worried about the Jose Aldo McGregor card being canceled. We weren't going to get the fight we wanted. They asked Chad. Chad stepped up. He fought valiantly on short notice and gave us an exciting card.
I didn't look at it from that perspective, but you're 100% right, Mike. He saved that card. And not only did he save that card, but he actually gave the better fight, in my opinion, on paper to McGregor. You're looking at the best wrestler in that division. What's one of the questions that everybody was asking? Mm-hmm. Can Conor McGregor beat a really good wrestler? And he did. And that is why I gave my pick to Conor McGregor, because he answered that question. He beat the best wrestler in the division, and he is my fighter of the month for July.
And Jay, it was an awesome interview today, an awesome show today.
Yeah, totally agree, Mike. And thanks to Sam Alvey for giving us that interview. It was so amazing. Guys, it looks like we're at the end of another episode. Thanks for listening, and until next time. This concludes this episode of MMA Think Tank. If you'd like to get a hold of us and let us know how we're doing or be a guest on the show, call 925-237-1296. Or you can email us at mmathinktank@gmail.com. You could also find us on Facebook at MMA Think Tank or on Twitter at Gene Wilder's Hair. Thanks for listening.
We go.